In this video, I'm going to talk about Excel tables. I find this to be a really useful feature of Excel. It lets me just concisely manage a large set of data. So what we're looking at here, and these are pretty old, but these are some stock prices, S&P 500, Bank of America, Citigroup, and so on, some stock prices from 2012 until 2013. So just under a couple years of data. So I will use an Excel table to manage this data, and it allows me to, I guess, manage the data better. It formats for me, it makes it look nice in the spreadsheet. It gives me a convenient way to refer to it in formulas. That will be subject of a different video. And so I find this to be a pretty convenient feature of Excel. Okay, so first we're just going to create this table. I can select my range. I can select a cell in my range is fine. Excel will do its best to guess what the range is of data. It will choose the contiguous set of data here. So if we click up here, we've got a Format as Table button. So Format as Table, you'll see a bunch of styles show up. I tend, and this isn't 100% true, but I tend to like the medium styles. If you look here, all of these styles have a heading row set up. Well, not quite all of them. Some of them don't down here, but most of my tables have headings of some sort, so I like the headings. I like the banded rows. I'm partial to blue, so I guess we go with blue. We click on the button, it says Create Table. It asks me, where's my data? Again, this is its best guess, and it will guess, does the table have headers or not? Again, it's looking at this first row and making a decision. So I'm going to click OK because I have headers, and you'll see it's created a table. Now it has popped up a new ribbon. If you look up here, we're in the table design ribbon. If you're somewhere else in the spreadsheet, if you click into the table design ribbon will appear. If I leave the table design ribbon's gone. So if I click on the table design ribbon, we can do all sorts of things with this table from the design. Now, just about the first thing that I do with my tables is I give them some useful name. This is especially good when you're using these tables in formulas because you can refer to them by name. So I'm going to call this stock data. And now in a formula, I can always refer to this as stock data. Also, if I click F5 to go to, you can see stock data is there. One thing to note, when I go to stock data, it has not included the headers. It's sort of gone, that's a special row, everything else is included. Okay, so there are a bunch of things we can do with the tables just in terms of layout and design. It's worth knowing about. So let's go back to that design, the table design ribbon. Okay, so we've got our table name. We can convert the data back to a range if we so desired. We can export the data. We're not going to worry about that. Refresh it if it got an external source. We've got some options here, and we've got some styles here. So this is what we saw before. If I don't like what it looks like, let's choose something different. That's pretty horrible. Let's go back. Okay, so I can change broadly, as with most Excel features, I can change broadly what something looks like. I've got a bunch of choices here for style options. The header row, you can turn it off. I like to leave it on. And also, if you've got some screen reader that's reading the spreadsheet, having a header row is pretty important, so it's good to leave that on. We've got banded rows. You can see here I've got banded rows, dark, light, dark, light. Can turn that off. You can have banded columns. Again, this table doesn't make a lot of sense as banded columns, but some tables do. Let's put our banded rows back on. You can also highlight the first and last columns. So I'll do that here, first and last columns. So you can see here my date's been highlighted and ExxonMobil share prices have been highlighted. This I don't use very often, but I do use it. Let's see, we can make it a stronger color here. I do use this. For example, I sometimes set up a spreadsheet which is used for student grades. Student name might be here on the left. A bunch of individual assignments might be the various columns, and then over on here on the right is the final grade. And in that world, I like to highlight the student name and the final grade so they jump off the page a little more. Let's turn that off. We can have filter buttons on or off. You can see here it's off, put them back on. So that's most of the features in terms of design. Couple other things. Let's say, so these stocks are in alphabetical order. Let's say I'm going to add a new stock. It's not on my list. Let's say we're adding Apple. So if I right click in any column, I can insert a table column to the left, a row above. So if I insert a table column to the left, and we can say AAPL for Apple. And if I imported my share prices here, I could have Apple share prices in my table. If I want to get rid of that column, delete table column, it's gone. You could imagine, again, obviously I haven't done this for a while because we're now in 2024, so this has been 11 years since I last updated this table, but you could imagine there's some new stock prices. If I'm sitting in the bottom right corner of a table and I hit tab, it adds a new row. But new type, this probably is not the most efficient way to add this data. It would take me a long time to type in all these numbers. I'd probably import them. Again, if I import them here, so the 30th of November 2013, it will automatically add them to the table. So if I just start typing 30 November 2013, you'll see it's added a new row, which goes there. Let me undo that, let's get rid of that row. The same is true off to the right of the column. If I want to add something new here, the Z stock, type in Z. If I put stuff into my spreadsheet just to the right or just below my table, it will automatically add them. All right, so let me get rid of that. Okay, so here's my table. We can add, we can delete columns, everything we can normally do with a spreadsheet. Okay, what else are tables good for? I guess I should give a little hint towards this. The structured reference. So, and we'll go over this in a later video, but let's say I want to, let's take the average of FedEx's stock prices. Normally we'd have a cell reference, or maybe we'd have to reference, we'd have a named reference in a named reference in our spreadsheet. Here, the average FedEx stock price is $97.6620. And if we look at it, it's average stock data, that's the name of my table, square bracket FDX, close square bracket, and that's given me all of the data in that range. So it's really useful. There's quite a lot of features in this with the structured references, but it's a really useful feature. Two last features of the tables that I want to introduce you to. One is filtering. So if we click on one of the filter drop downs here, we're going to get a series of things. We can do some sorting, oldest to newest, newest to oldest, and so on. We can do, Excel does some, it looks at the types that of data you have here. So here it knows this is a date, and so it gives me date filters. If it were numbers, it will give me number filters. So you can see here number filters. If it were text, it would give me text style filters. So let's do some date filters. So you can see some basic things here, all dates in the period, quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, custom filters, and so on. These are all things date. If we do between, is after or equal to, well, we have to go way back in time, don't we? Oh, this is a very useful box, but maybe we'll type it in. 1/1/2012, before or equal to 1/1/2013. And we filtered out all of the data outside that time, right? The S&P 500, we can do number filters. We can also choose if we want, let's get rid of this, clear the filter. We can choose a specific date or a set of dates here. So if we get rid of the 2013s, we've got some 2012s. Let's do July 2012, and we've got all the data from July 2012. So we can choose some specific things. Same's true in the number filters. This is all that's left. If we turn off all and just select the 13, 41, 47, 10th of July 2012. So we can do some nice filtering here. Clear the filters, clear the filters. The other thing we can do is sort. This data is not really natural to sort other than the date where it already is, but let's just do it. CVX, sort largest to smallest. There we go. We know the highs were in July 2013. See what the lows are, June 2012. Okay, so we can sort this data. I'm going to undo it so I've got my original data back, or we could sort largest to smallest, and we know this was originally sorted by date, so oldest to newest. That's how we've got it. So there's sort of unsorted. The other way we can sort, though, which is sometimes useful, is we can sort on a couple of columns at the same time. So I can't do that from these drop downs. But if I want, I can go over here into the editing and sort and filter and do a custom sort. Okay, so we can do, let's do, this is going to be a silly sort, S&P 500 smallest to largest, and then within that, if there are a couple of days that have the same numbers, we're going to do Bank of America smallest to largest. And so in this way, we can sort on a couple of different keys in case one of the keys, one of the columns that we're sorting on, has the same value more than once. Not very likely in this data set, but again, we can do it. So this sort feature up here under editing is a really useful way, let's clear it, is a really useful way to, oh man, now I've made a mess. Sort oldest to newest, there, we're back to where we started. It's a really useful way to be able to sort my data. Again, this data doesn't make a lot of sense to sort with, but be able to sort my data not just on a single column, but on a couple of columns. So for example, if we had first name and last name of a student, we could sort first on the last name and then next on the first name. And if two people had the same last name, then their first names would be what determines what order they come into the spreadsheet. Okay, I hope that was useful, and I will talk to you in another video.